Thank you for joining me. We will be starting in approximately 1 minute and 40 seconds. Hi, and thank you for joining me on this Tuesday afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Wayne from Ascend Custom Designs. I am a small business owner and I am a part of the xTool Squad program. So what is the xTool Squad? The xTool Squad is a global network of makers, educators, and small business owners such as myself. We offer one-on-one demos of the products that we own, and the demos are a mix of online and in person. It differs by host. We also offer material testing as well as skill training. So material testing involves testing customer supplied samples under a number of different parameters to get you ideal results. And skill training is essentially a one-on-one masterclass with your chosen squad member, and they will help you from start to finish on any of your requirements. So if you need help with more of the software aspect of things, how to use it, it'd be custom tailored to you. So if you want to find out more about that information about that, then you can go to support.xtool.com/xtool-squad. Right now, xTool is running a promotion. They will pay any squad member that you choose to do a one-on-one demo absolutely free for you. So the squad host that you go with gets paid for their time. You get an honest demo regardless if you buy or not. So I'm not sure when that will stop. And I should note that the material testing and skill training are paid extras that go directly to the host that you choose. So I've done both. And again, if you want to find out more information about that, you can go to the website. Alternatively, you can scan the QR code above my head. That will take you to my profile on the xTool Squad page. So I have a rough workshop of what I'm going to go over today. So I'll go over the xTool M2. That's dominantly what I'll be dealing with. I do have several lasers here in the office and I do use them in tandem. But today I will just solely be using the xTool M2. So I'll go over the technical information. We'll then do a physical look of the xTool M2. I'll quickly go over some laser safety training. As this is a class 1 laser, it's going to be slightly different than the other lasers. Class 1 laser is more safe in the sense of you cannot operate it with the lid open. So you don't have a requirement for safety glasses. It's completely safe to operate with no glasses, as you can't operate it with the lid open. So none of the light will leave the enclosed space. So after I've done that, we'll go over to xTool Creative Studio. So this is the software that we use. It's completely free. It only works with xTool's lasers. It's their own software. So we'll go over that. That's how we make all our projects come to life. We will then cover some of the special features of the M2 and some of the software. So auto material detection, that's a feature for the M2. And then the AI Maker 2.0, that is a software-based feature. So regardless of what laser you buy, I'll show you that and how you can incorporate that into your workflow. Some of the materials that we might work on: cork coasters, custom cards, keychains, and more. I think I'm gonna test out some wood, so I'll show you how it cuts on the M2, and we'll have a look at a quick project. And again, if you have any questions, please do drop them in the comments. So if you're watching live, please do drop them in the comments. If you're watching this after it's aired, you can reach out to me, wayne@ascend.com. My number's just down below. And alternatively, you can go to info.ascendcd.com. It's got all my social media handles on there. So if you prefer to reach out to me on social media, go ahead and do that. So with that all being said, we'll jump over to the tech specs. So the xTool M2 has interchangeable heads, which I'll show you when we do the physical look at it. So I have the 10-watt module installed in my unit. I also have the CMYK inkjet module, and that stands for the cyan, magenta, yellow, and the K is black. So it's full color ink module. So I just have those two, but you can also get a 20-watt diode laser as well as a 3-watt infrared module. And I shouldn't say it's coming soon, it's available now. So do check that out. It is a fully enclosed class 1 laser. So what that means is this machine will not operate with the lid open. Some of the lasers that I've demoed are a class 1 and class 4 laser, and what that means is it's class 1 when you have some of the safety features enabled. So with the F2, for example, I can operate it with the lid open, in which case it becomes a class 4 laser. And that is where we need these safety glasses. So you don't have to worry about that. This is fully enclosed. You cannot operate it with the lid open. It does have dual cameras in this product. So it has a 5 megapixel panoramic camera, and that is located in the lid. And then it has a 2 megapixel close-up camera, which is to the side of the laser module, or where you would put the laser module. And it does have auto material detection. So you're able to put materials in there and use the AI function to identify the material. I mean, realistically, you should know what material is going in there. And then in terms of speed, it has a max speed of up to 6,000 millimeters a second. It comes pre-assembled and is ready to use at the box once you do a quick calibration test. And in terms of the work area, the maximum workspace is 42.6 centimeters by 32 centimeters. And I put a little asterisk next to that, as if you use the infrared module, you'll lose some space. And again, if you use the ink module, you'll also lose some space. So just a few notes about the M2. So the ink, I've been asked questions, can I print directly to garments? It's a water-based ink, so if you do, just note that it will wash off. So you will have to do something to seal it. So you can't just natively print directly to it. There is some tattoo paper that is going to be released pretty soon. It just has a few little hurdles to get over in terms of supply chain. And then it'll be in the store and you can print directly to that and apply the tattoos like you've probably seen in some of the videos. And the xTool M2 does have air assist. It's just built in, so you don't need a separate air assist unit. It does have air assist. I'm actually quite surprised at how well it cuts. And it's all built into the actual device itself. So it keeps the profile, the foot space that it takes up, quite low. For that reason too, it doesn't have a riser base, but it is able to engrave cylindrical objects up to 100 millimeters or 10 centimeters, and that uses the RA3 light. So what happens is it changes the orientation of the laser, and you're able to engrave at a completely different orientation, and it just saves space having to have that riser bed. The RA3 will be compatible with this machine. So if you have an RA3 with one of your other lasers, so if this isn't your first laser, hold your horses. There will be an extension that will make it compatible. So that's not ready right now, but it will be coming soon. So that'll be the M2 adapter kit. And in terms of cutting ability, the 10-watt diode can cut 8mm basswood and 3mm black acrylic in one pass. And then the 20-watt diode can cut 10mm basswood or 8mm acrylic in a single pass. So it's got some cutting ability. And we'll go over the specs again on the website. So if I switch over to that now, and we'll jump over here. So this is the spot size. So I've just got this on. So we will need to make a note of that. So I will go over something. I've been asked a lot recently about the laser spot size, as when I've been telling people to which version of the M2 to buy. I've been moving people from more of the 20-watt to the 10-watt, more specifically because they're looking at doing engraving, less cutting, maybe a little bit of cutting, but more engraving. And this spot size does make a difference. So on the 10-watt, the spot size is 0.04 millimeters by 0.06 millimeters. So it's pretty tiny. And then the 20-watt is slightly larger. So instead of 4, it's 6, and instead of 6, it's 8. So it's a bit bigger. But when you're engraving images, this size does make a difference in terms of the detail. So some of the detail might be lost because it's a bigger dot size. So think of it as pen versus a pencil. So a marker versus a sharp pencil. If you're trying to get details with the big marker, they might be lost. So do bear that in mind. And then the work area, it does have the work area somewhere there. So the 10-watt, 20-watt have the same work area, which is what I listed. And then the 3-watt, you lose a little bit of the work area. And that's simply because the infrared module is slightly bigger. So it's slightly wider than the diode laser. And that's just the nature of the infrared laser. And a similar thing for the inkjet module. So then in terms of the M2, like I said, it comes with several different modules. You do have this RA3 light, so no riser base is required. And as you can see, the orientation of the laser has completely changed. And that is how it's able to not require a riser base. It's actually quite genius. And then these are just all some of the stuff that you can do with it. I advise have a look at it in your own time. If you do want to find out more information about it, you can scan that QR code and that will take you to the website that I just showed you. There are accessories that you can get for it, depending on what bundle you buy. If you buy the Deluxe bundle, you get a few different accessories with it. If you buy the standalone M2, you can add things later on. So don't feel like you need to buy the 20-watt right now if that's not what you need. It might be the 10-watt works right now, and then when the business becomes viable or you have the option to upgrade, you can just buy the 20-watt and switch between the both of them. So with that being said, we'll jump over to the physical demo. So I'm going to grab my phone. So I'll show you on the pan tilt zoom camera. So this is the xTool M2. Here is located the 5-megapixel panoramic camera. So I will show you a close-up view with my iPhone. Here is the 10-watt module attached. I do have the inkjet module here. And I'll show you how that attaches and reattaches. So I have that open. There is a power button on the front. So this is the only button that's located on the front. When you send a job to it, simply press this button and it will start it. In terms of the power, there's a power button on the back of the machine. The base is fairly close to the laser. So this machine is only able to engrave or cut on items up to 26 millimeters. So that's 2.6 centimeters. So it doesn't have the ability to engrave on very tall objects. but this is a budget machine. So if you're looking to engrave on tall objects, this is not the machine for you. But if you're looking to chop wood up, depending on the type of wood, and work on items that aren't taller than 26 millimeters, then this is the laser for you. And again, it can engrave on cylindrical objects using the RA3 light, and that is up to 100 mil or 10 centimeters. So if I switch over now to the iPhone, so this here, that is the 5 megapixel panoramic camera. What I like about this is when you close the lid, it takes a picture. So I don't know if you could hear that beep. If I continue talking, should have hopefully heard that beep. That's one of the standout features I absolutely love about this machine, is when you're in the software, as soon as you close that lid, it takes a snapshot of what's in the work area, and that comes in very, very handy. In terms of what the bed looks like, this is what it looks like. It does have these dots. If you was to cover one up, it will alert you and let you know that something is covering up one of those dots. It uses them to help map out the depth. Don't ask me how. I only know this because I've accidentally covered them up with these that come with the machine. So these are, instead of the honeycomb, so again, xTool have saved space, and they use these little things here, and you're able to, they're magnetic, you're able to hold and grip things with them. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about them, but they're actually very handy to have. And then in terms of, you might see these little hooks here, and that hook is able to grab, if I just show you the inkjet cartridge, so you're able to grab, it slides underneath this and pulls it off. So this tab here at the bottom, this is magnetic, this is where the ink is. And the machine will automatically take this off and put it back on again to keep the ink fresh. Actually quite genius. In terms of taking the module off and switching it up, it's simply just a USB-C to USB-C cable. And you can just pull this off like that. So I'm doing this with one hand, bear in mind, and it just pulls off. So you might be able to see the magnets on the back, and this just sticks in there. So again, I'm doing this one-handed. It just snaps into place. You then put it there and just push it in. So if I was to, there we go. Much easier with two hands. And that's how you would switch up between the modules. So it's that easy for any of the modules. So if I was to switch to the ink module, it's just that simple. I'm trying to think what else there is. And then, yes, the close-up camera. So I don't know how well you can see it, but basically under here is the close-up camera. I believe it's just here. And that is that close-up camera. So there's the module, and that's that camera, that 2 megapixel camera that will take a close-up picture. So I hope that helped. Right, switch back over. So again, if I was to show you the inkjet module, so to switch to the inkjet module, I've just unplugged that. And it's that simple. And then in terms of the inkjet module, what I was referencing to, this little thing here. So this is the ink, and this snaps off and snaps on automatically using the, I don't know what we'd call it, the teeth in the corner. So today I'll be demonstrating the 10-watt version of the M2. So now if I do that, so one thing I will also cover before we get into things is the laser dot size. So just some clarification on the laser dot size. So I get asked this a lot, and more so recently. So lasers will all have a dot size. So this is what we just looked at on the spec sheet on the M2 website, on the xTool M2 website. So the 10 watt M2 has a slightly smaller dot size than the 20 watt. So if you're looking to engrave images that have a lot of detail, then I would say go the 10 watt versus the 20 watt. They do have a 3 watt infrared module, and from what I can gather, don't take my word for it, but from what I can gather, it's the same dot size as the F2 5 watt infrared. So you can see right now that the red dot on the screen, how small it is in comparison to the 10 watt or the 20 watt. So the dot size of the different lasers are different, and you'll find that the infrared and UV lasers, they're more circular. In fact, they are circular. They're the same width and height, whereas the diode lasers are naturally oval or rectangular in size. So it really depends on the type of diode laser. xTool's diode lasers are more oval than rectangle. And then I should note that these dot sizes, so I've taken these from the official specs on xTool's website, and obviously I've increased them in size approximately about 300 times. And they're all in proportion to each other. So this isn't the actual dot size. This is just for representation, but they're all in proportion to each other. So just for reference, just so you can get in your mind what happens when the laser starts engraving or cutting. It has a dot size, and this is the dot size. So with that being said, we'll jump over to some safety. Never leave the machine unattended. So if you're chopping wood, don't leave it unattended. You might, there's a high probability of flames with a laser source. If you've got your settings right, you should always be okay, but you never know. So never leave the machine unattended. If you do have to go, you can pause it. I've paused our job many times because something urgent's come up and I've had to leave. If in doubt, pause it and come back when you're in the room. Flat, stable surface, you'll get optimum results on a flat, stable surface. If it's not flat, you'll get engraves that are mismatched in terms of color. You won't get the results that you want. If the surface moves around a lot, especially on the M2, it's a gantry-based laser, so it's going to move. If the material moves slightly, you're going to get blurring. So flat, stable surface. Don't modify the machine. So this is a class 1 laser. Don't modify it. And in terms of ventilation, it does come with some hose pipe. I think it's about 1.2 meters. Please vent it outside. So don't vent it in the room that you're in. If you can't vent it, there are options available. So the air purifier is compatible with the M2. You do require to select just a slightly different option, the M2 version. So the M2 version will come with an adapter. So if you are ordering the air purifier, do remember to select the M2 version. I'll show you that on the website. Some materials that you should never engrave, PVC and vinyl, they create bad gas for your lungs, bad for your machine, bad overall. If you're looking to cut vinyl, this is not the machine for you. So I've had to steer a few people away from this machine because they're looking to replace a vinyl cutter and all their vinyl is PVC based. You can't cut it. You need a vinyl cutter to cut PVC based vinyl. It's that simple. There's no getting around it. There are vinyls that you can get that are laser safe, but they're few and far between. The most common vinyls that you'll see are PVC based. So for me, I just don't cut vinyl at all in a laser. I use a vinyl cutter. And then safety glasses, not really applicable to this machine because it's a class 1 laser. And like I said, you can't operate it with the guard up. So there's no need or no requirement to wear safety glasses. But xTool do have safety glasses if you have a different laser. And if you do operate the laser with the guard open, not that you can with the M2, you would need safety glasses. So like I said, for this laser in particular, you don't have to worry about the safety glasses as it's not possible to run the machine with the guard open. Now, if I just quickly jump back over to the website and have a look at the air purifier. So that is what I referenced about being the M2 version. as you scroll down, there should be an option for accessories, or at least there was. There we go. Just took a little while to load. So depending on what bundle you buy, it's cheaper to buy as a bundle rather than standalone and add stuff on. The air purifier isn't a part of a bundle, I believe, so you have to buy that separate. But if you hit the drop down menu, purifier for the M2. So like I said, if you buy the air purifier, you just want to make sure you get the correct version. It's the same unit, you just get an adapter, something similar to this, and it just turns the 80mm hose into something that works with the small air purifier. So the hose is 70mm, so you just need a step down. If you have a 3D printer, you can print your own, but why not? If you're going to order it, just select the correct version and you'll be good to go. So the 3 watt infrared laser modules ready to go, and you're able to order it today. And with that being said, if we jump over to the xTool Creative Studio, if I just show you the screen, one of the standout features of xTool's products is xTool Creative Studio, so their software. So I always get asked why choose xTool. One of the prime reasons I always say is not just the quality of the lasers, but the quality of the software. It doesn't matter how great of a laser you have to operate it somehow. And if the software is lacking, you will be limited. So this is where xTool really stand apart. You're able to get all the skills on one type of laser. So for example, I started using xTool Creative Studio with my S1. And then as I've grown, I've upgraded and added new lasers. And it was effortless to add these new lasers. I was able to utilize the skills I've already learned and add on to that. And by that, I mean, if I click on a new project, the interface stays the same between all the lasers pretty much. So this is the M2, and it automatically connects to the last laser that you was connected to. And if I connect over to my F2, you can see that the size of the bed changes. It's taken a picture, and you know, for the most part, all the options down this side stay the same. It's just some of the options over here that will change. So if you have the S1, for example, you don't have a camera, so you won't have this refresh background button because that machine doesn't have a camera. But all the machines I have connected at the moment have cameras. So the cameras are very handy. They allow you to see what's going on and place the items in an approximate position. And it just comes in very, very handy. So if I switch back over to the M2, you can see right now there is nothing in the bed. So if I show you that, so in the bottom left is a real-time feed of the camera. So that's not coming from the machine, that's an external camera. So one of the first things I always tell people to go to in the software is this Academy. Very, very helpful resource. I get asked questions all the time if there's official resources. The answer is yes. So if we click on View All Machines, this M2, you can watch some very college-style courses on getting started, maintenance, accessories. So just very, very helpful stuff that you can do in your own time. There are some creator-inspired courses. So, for example, if I untick that, Paul has done a course on how to start and scale your laser business. Highly recommend you check it out. Some very good stuff. Give him a follow on YouTube too. He's a sound guy. very stand-up guy. So Paul Steed. And you can also book him for one-on-one training. So Paul is an xTool squad member. And this is what the xTool squad is about. So I would say check out the xTool Academy. That's the first stop. If you've got a slightly different machine, I would advise going to general and the laser safety training. So this comes in handy if you're taking a machine to a craft fair. Part of risk assessments. I highly recommend you do this. It's good stuff to know. It's very good stuff to know. And at the end of it, you get a certificate, and it is a usable certificate. I've used this certificate myself as part of risk assessments. So if you're looking to go to somewhere like the NEC and do an exhibit, this would be part of the risk assessment that you'll be asked to conduct. So it's very, very handy to have. xTool have also completed the whole ecosystem with this custom things. I'll just mention it briefly, but custom things is a way where you can sell items. So think of it, it's similar to Etsy. It creates you an online store, but it's more than just an online store. If you're already on Etsy, you might know this, but when you get an order, you have to do a lot of the things manually. So copying, pasting, selecting the right template that the customer's ordered. So you have to do that. So when a customer places an order, there's a lot of work that goes on in the background that you have to do. Custom things takes all of that out of the equation. So what happens is they get a website, they're able to customize the selected product that you've added, and it is able to be imported directly into xTool Creative Studio, ready to go, ready to laser engrave and cut. However you've set it up. So you set up the product once, you set up its parameters, and then every time a customer orders, it's literally ready to go. So if there's a mistake on the name, that's no longer your fault, that's the customer's fault. I spoke to many customers, and one of their biggest issues is copying and pasting. They copy and paste things wrong. So they might copy a name without the first letter of the initial, and they send it off to the customer, and it's wrong. It's not what they ordered. They just copy and pasted it wrong. So this takes all of the user error out of it, and more importantly, it frees up your time. So it puts more of the emphasis on the design element onto the customer, and just allows you to just push product out and start making money. So maximize your profits. It is a paid for event. It is a paid for product. It's not expensive. So if we just go down to this subscription, they have just reduced the cost, which is very, very helpful. So to start with, it's absolutely free. You're able to process 10 items in the month. You can't take payment via the store, so you'd have to take payment another way. But it gives you a good taste of how it works. Once you're ready to go, that $19 a month, so it's not in pounds, it's in dollars, so it's actually less than £19, probably more about £15 a month. You can add unlimited products, so everything that you get in the starter, but you get a higher limit, so you're able to process 100 orders in a month. And you might think that's limited, but the amount of time that you save, it pays for itself, honestly. If you're getting paid £15 an hour, that's an hour's work. So an hour's work a month, it pays for itself, honestly. And then if you are seriously processing a lot of orders, $69. We do have bespoke packages. So we do have enterprise packages. So do reach out. We do offer them. So if you have multiple locations or very specific needs, please do reach out. We can do a one-on-one demo, and we can talk about what you need and prices, etc. So with that all being said, if I jump into an actual product or project, and we'll talk a little bit about the Atom. So the Atom is where you're able to upload and download projects. So you're able to create projects and share them. So it's very community-based driven. And it's a nice little feature. So if you're new to laser engraving, new to the laser world, if you scroll down to the side, you've got projects. If you click on that, you can find a ton of resources, a lot of them free. Some are paid for, but it just helps you get started. So I think today what we'll do is I've just got some reclaimed wood. So this is just a piece of wood that I had that when I engraved it, engraved light. So I did this on a different machine quite a while ago. Just had this floating around the office. So we'll cut a piece out just to make sure I got the settings right. I did do this cutting on a demo recently. I can't remember what settings I used. So we're just cut. I'll show you how to figure out what it is. So I think what we'll do now is I'll just drop this in the laser engraver. So if you check out the video in the bottom corner, you'll see that I'm just going to open up the lid. I'm going to drop this in. And it will take a picture. So because I'm going to be doing some cutting, I should note that it will cut through and mark the bed. That's absolutely normal. If you don't want it to mark the bed, you got a couple of options. I have this stainless steel sheet. So you can see here when I cut out the square that it marked this instead of the bed. You could also use tin foil in a pinch. So I'm just going to place this underneath. Because I use this machine a lot for demos, I like to try and keep it clean, at least for the time being. I've marked all my other lasers. Don't worry about it. It happens. It's not going to affect the way that it operates, even though it can be very annoying. So I've placed that in the bed. You can see straight away it's updated. So it's very, very handy. That feature of me opening up the lid and closing the lid takes a picture. If you have used another type of laser that has a camera, you'll know that every time you move something in the bed, you have to take a picture. So you would have to refresh the background. I love that this machine does it automatically. It's fantastic. So the first thing we want to do is just measure. So I'm going to do the aimed measure, and this just gets the laser the correct distance away from the material. So 4 millimeters. So that's one of the first things that you should do. In terms of material, xTool does have a wide selection of material. So we go to wood, 3mm birch, ply, and that's it. It knows what the settings are now if we want to cut or if we want to engrave. So by that I mean, if we click here, we can see and we can select what we like. So that's for a score. If I click engrave, what type of engrave do you want? And this is very specific to the laser module too. So this is specifically for the M2 10 watt. The settings will be different for the 20 watt. And then if you want to cut 3 millisecond, 1 pass, 100% power, constant power. So this is a new thing. You're able to dynamically adjust the power as it goes around the corners. So it's literally that simple. When you do chop wood, you do want to raise it up. So right now that is sitting flush with the plate. So I did mention briefly, you got these little clips and they're magnetic. So what I like to do is just raise up the material a little bit. So I'm able to just do something like that. You're able to put it underneath. There we go. So we'll do another one at the bottom just to even it out. And we have, so you get 4 of these. So if I show you what they look like underneath the desk camera, that might give you a better view. So these come with the M2, the magnetic here. They can hold stuff just like that. They can grip stuff, so they pull out and they slot back down. So it just naturally snaps down. You can twist it. I tend to just do that and let it grip it. So they do come in very, very handy. So I'm just using this to prop the material up off the floor or off the base. So if I drop that back down, it's going to take another picture. And it's absolutely wonderful. So you can just see that it's took another picture. And again, we want to, it's not updated thickness. So again, we just do an aimed measure. So the reason why we raise it up off the floor is when you're cutting, you want the air to be able to get underneath, and that will just reduce the scorching. So when you cut wood, if you want to reduce the level of scorching that you get, this is one of the ways that you do it. And this does have air assist built in, which is very handy, and that does reduce the scorching. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chop or test a 3mm by 3mm. So we zoom in here. I'm just zooming in with the mouse. That's 3mm by 3mm, and that's a cut. So I've taken a picture using the 5-megapixel panoramic. And what I might want to do is take a picture of the whole thing. So I can either take a picture of a specific thing using the close-up camera, or I can stitch a picture and take a picture of the whole thing. So right now you can see the laser moving around. And that is taking several photos with the close-up camera. It's going to stitch them together and you'll see the difference. So it's 82% loaded, 90%. And there we go. You can see the difference. So what I'll do is I'll have that just there. And we'll just use the base settings. If I select that and use the base settings for this plywood process, we can see that it's going to chop out just the square. If we want to check how it's going to do it, we can actually play this back, and this is how it's going to do it in real time. So 9 seconds in total. So if I hit start, the color of this changes green. I don't know how well that shows up on camera. And then if I hit this start button, it will actually start. I can enable monitoring. So you can see a real-time view. It's that simple. Honestly, it's fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to open up, have a look. It's chopped it. I'm happy with it. So you can see there, it's chopped it. And what I'll do is I'll just take a single photo of that area. So what we'll do now is I'm happy with that these settings are going to work with this wood. We'll just have a look on the corner. We have projects, and I know Father's Day is coming up, so we'll just have a look and see what projects there are. I guess we'll do this. So if we click on that, it even tells you what materials. So if I just hide, show you the screen only, shows you can order xTool materials. And I will just use this. So if I click open, and I'm just going to go with the SVG. So this is the xTool Creative Studio file. There's a newer file format just called XS that handles bigger files better. So that'll be the file format .xs going forward. But SVGs, if you're coming from a different, so if you're coming from a vinyl cutter, you would be very familiar with SVGs. SVGs scale infinitely, so they're the way to go. So I'll just add that to the project, or add new project, I think is what it did, my bad. So if I add to current project, close that out. So add to current project will add it to the project that you're in at the moment. There we go. So we do that. So we do have space on here, amazingly. this might look complex. You've got different colors. So let me just break this out nice and simple. So we want to cut out the outside. So this is evidently the green layer. So the green layer we're going to set to cut because we know that worked. And then the red and the black layer are slightly different. So let me have a look at this. This is a project. I've not done this. This is very much impromptu. Compound vector, cool. So what we'll do is we'll have slightly different settings for the black and red for engrave. So if you want to get different detail or different shading, you're able to do that. So you're not able to specifically get colors when you engrave. But what you can do is when you do an engrave, you can say 50% power for the red layer and then 80% power for the black layer. And what that does is that will give you some definition, some difference, some contrast. So if you want things to pop, you might want more power and a slower speed. So it does come in very, very handy. So this machine does have a print head that you're able to print in color, but we're specifically talking about the laser. So what we'll do is we'll select the red laser and we'll go with the default, and then the black layer we will go with a darker engrave but more speed. So we'll go with that, and we'll also increase the lines per centimeter. So the lines per centimeter is the spacing between it, so you'll get more detail. The higher the lines per centimeter, the more detail that's cramming in, depending on how finite the detail is. So some of these strokes here might not pick up. If you use the infrared laser, when I showed you the dot size, you might be able to get them. So we'll see how this works. And then in terms of the red layer, what I'll do is just gonna find, there we go. Get rid of that and get rid of that. So I've actually deleted the red layer. And what we'll do is I'll have my own. So I'll go Wayne, engrave, change that to red. Copy and paste. And we'll do my dog. So as you can see, when I'm moving things up and down, they automatically snap into place. So I know straight away those are going to work nicely. So we'll shrink, shrink, shrink. And then what I'll do is when I'm happy with it, I'm just selected it, I'm holding down the shift button and just moving left and right. So it moves it by more. And I'm going to click this, and I'm just going to, and then what I'll do here is I'll just move it up. And we'll go with that. I'm happy with that. So you're able to just manipulate elements quite simply. It's not complex, honestly. You can learn all the basic features that you need to get going easily in an hour. And again, with the red layer, I'm just setting that to engrave, and that's the default engraving. And then the black is completely different set of results. So I'm going to do 95% power, 190 speed, one pass. So you can do multiple passes to get a deeper engrave or a darker engrave. So it could be that I say the red layer actually does 2 passes. And if we hit process, it will show us what we're doing. So I've left something in there purposely. I don't know if anyone can see it. But what you see here is what will engrave. There's something on there that shouldn't be. That is that blue element there. So that is what I left in there. That is the initial cut that we made. So you can see it here. I can turn that output off if I want. And that just makes the laser ignore it. So if I hit process again, you'll see it's gone. So what we'll do is we'll just actually get rid of it. So that was a test to see if it will cut the wood. It will. I'll hit process. We can see how it's going. If I hit this preview processing path, this was going to take 11 minutes. So we just have enough time. You can see how it's going to do it. And it's black and white. You know, it's not in color. So the layers are purely for reference only. So if I move over to the actual laser, I don't know how well you can see it, but this is the green light. So it's ready to go. I hit this and now the laser is ready to engrave. So what I'm going to do is, if I just show you the screen only, you're able to hit this enable monitoring. And this will show you the camera in real time. So if I enable the camera, so right now it's doing the engraving. And it will do the cuts last. And the reason for that is if it cuts out, it's going to drop out and it's going to be out of focus. So it always does the cutting last. And you can actually, when you process, instead of auto, you can have it process the layers and do things differently in a different order. But by default, the auto planning is the recommended way to do it. Once you get to more advanced, a more advanced level, there are reasons why you would want to do things differently. But I won't get over that, or I won't get into that today. So this is going to take about 11 minutes. So the gantry-based machines are a lot slower than the Galvos. So if you've ever seen me use the F2, for example, you'd know that has a max speed of 6,000 millimeters a second, whereas this only has a max speed of 600 millimeters a second. So they're vastly different technologies, though. So you can't really compare them in terms of speed like that, simply because this is a gantry-based laser, so it will naturally be slower. But you do have the benefit of a bigger working area, whereas on the Galvos, you do have a limited workspace. So there's pros and cons to both. But you can see here, 8 minutes and 56 seconds. What I was talking about before, the ability to learn one laser and be able to jump into the next. I'll just show you briefly, but I can switch lasers and it's very, very safe. My laser will continue working away. So I can switch to the well, it did let me, and it's not. Don't know why, but anyway, it's because I need to open up a new tab. So if I open up a new tab and switch, so I'm able to work now on the F2 here and have the M2 open here. So you can see it's taking a picture. I could move you over to the F2. So if I move you over to the F2 there, I could draw a square on the screen, say frame it. And if I open this up, you'll see a blue frame. And again, if I turn that framing off, it's gone. So you can see I can very much work on my different lasers. So you can work on several lasers together at the same time. You're in the same room, so you can multiply your profits that way. What I like to do is use the right tool for the job. So for the most part, this M2 is just purely going to be cutting wood out. So come Christmas time, I'll be chopping out a load of these. if I was to just select the blue layer, so I'd be chopping out a ton of this. So just this shape here. And that's all I'll be cutting out on the M2. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be engraving this element here. So the black and the, if I just copy and paste all that. So change this to blue, get rid of green, there we go. So what I'll be doing on the M2 come Christmas time is chop out a load of these shapes, and all I'll be doing on the F2 or the F2 Ultra UV is just engraving. So in terms of engraving speed, if I was to select this and there's nothing in the bed at the moment, so yeah, that's zeroed out. If I select birch, and if I was to just set the default engrave, yeah, we'll go with the recommended. Quiet process, how long will that take? 1 minute, 29 seconds. So at the moment, it's probably still engraving. So if I go over to the task, click back on it, if I go back to this enable monitoring, you can see it's still, and it's 5 minutes in, and it's not even finished engraving. So honestly, use the right tool for the job. I mean, if this is your first laser, you have to do what you have to do. If you're making Christmas baubles, just make your money, make your profit, and then upgrade your process. So it might be, you know, you can order these from the manufacturer already cut down to size, so you're just engraving them. In which case you don't need the work area, in which case the F2 becomes more financially viable. Depending on what you get, the F2 might be more expensive or cheaper, so depending on what model. But I've found now that I've got multiple lasers that I use them in tandem with each other. So I use them for their strengths. So the strength of the gantry-based diode lasers and even the CO2 lasers, although they're slower, their cutting ability is fantastic. So I'm able to cut the wood down to size into the shapes that I need, and then I'm able to engrave. So for example, if I switch over to my desk camera, this is something I chopped out from a small piece of wood. In fact, I think it was one of these that I chopped for Easter. Yeah. So I chopped this out using the UV laser. So the top bit goes up here, and you can see this is from a diode laser. So the diode laser, you do have a cut mark, but the rest of it I cut out using the UV, and there's no burn marks whatsoever. And then I was engraved it using the UV laser. But because it's a galvo laser, I'm able to do all this very quickly. So I did this as a test just to see how it cuts. I won't be using it to cut much because there's many passes on the UV. But I will use it to engrave. I do like this engrave. It's not charred it, but it's a nice dark engrave. And it's without any of that charring. So you do get charring. So I don't know how well you can see it, but there is charring around the cut. But we'll see how this does the job. If I switch back over, I go here, and I'm just gonna, oh, there we go, sorry, click back there. So it's just finished, so it's 11 minutes in, and it's still very much engraving. So it's not even done the names yet. So it does take a while, but the benefit is you can just leave it doing what it needs to do. As long as you're in the room, the highest chance of a flame comes when it does the cut. So when it does a cut, it uses the maximum amount of power typically, and it goes a slower speed, more importantly, and that increases the chance of a flame. So it's still engraving, and this is over, well, it's 1 minute left, 1 minute and a half left, and it's 11 minutes estimated time it's going to take. So it's spent most of the time engraving. It's probably going to have spent a good 10 minutes engraving. So he's done that, and now we're just under. Don't know how well you can see it, but the is a lot of smoke in there. So the air assist does work. So 33 seconds left. Come on, do. It should just drop out once the cut's done. There we go. So it's dropped down, so we know it cut all the way through. So I hit finish. What I'll do is I'll go over there now. So this machine, you can't hear it probably, but it's still running. So I can hear it's still pumping out the air, so it's completely shut down now. The fan has stopped. So I'll open this up. I can move this out. And there we go. So this does smell like burnt wood. So it's taken another picture. And what I'll do is I'll switch to the desk camera. So you can see. So believe it or not, in terms of charring, actually quite nice. So this is what we engraved. This turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to. So the nature of the wood, because you have grain, that is gone slightly darker. So this is plywood. So the thing with plywood that you need to remember is there's glue between the different layers, and the consistency of the glue is not always the same, even between batches. When you engrave on solid wood, so hardwood, you'll typically get more consistent results in that way. But with organic materials like wood, it really depends on the moisture levels and things like that. So do bear that in mind. So that was just a project that we found on Atom. And literally that's how easy it is to get started. So yes, this took 11 minutes. But it spent most of that doing the engraving. So if you have another laser, if you have a Galvo laser and you don't cut wood at the moment, the M2 is great for cutting the wood, and then have your Galvo laser do what it does best. So that is that. If anyone has any questions, please do reach out. That is all the time we have for today. I will be online all this week up until Saturday, and it will be at the same time again. So it's at 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. If you have any questions in the meantime, my contact details are literally down below, wayne@ascendcd.com. can reach me on +44 7846 110270. So I'll drop that in the comments. And it's Wayne at ascendcd.com. I'm on WhatsApp. Or you can traditionally call me, and again, that's 07846 110270. And yeah, just let me know. Any problems, any questions, any queries. If I can't answer, I'll put you to someone that can, or put you in the right direction at least. I've helped several people in that way. And I'm very open and honest in what the laser can and can't do. So if you have any questions about its technical ability, please do reach out, and I'll tell you if it's possible. It might be just because it's possible doesn't mean you should do it still. So I'll give you some honest advice. But yes, I'll be online again tomorrow. Thank